Oh, am I doing the intro?
Yeah, I'm going to do it. Welcome back, everyone. We're here at the World Headquarters at Go2 Nations, and we're here with Joel Hayslip, which is the Regional Director of West and Central Africa. So we're going to be interviewing him and asking him some questions. Joel, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So we just had a few questions. So first of all, how did you get your start in missions?
Well, my parents were missionaries, and so I kind of grew up on the mission field, but really didn't want to do it. But eventually, once I really gave my heart to Christ in college, I went on a short-term mission trip to Africa, and there I felt a very clear call. This is what I'm supposed to be doing, go back to Africa and doing missions.
Awesome. So have you been around the world to any other countries, or has it primarily been Africa?
It's recently primarily been Africa, but I've also been to Europe and to Asia and to South America, so kind of been all over the place.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So how long have you been the regional director of West and Central Africa?
We were missionaries there for about 12 years. We went from doing our internship there first, and then we became the team leaders, and then we were the national directors for a long time. The regional director's only been about a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your team in West and Central Africa, what kind of ministry do they do?
They do several different kinds of ministries, but primarily it's children's ministry. So we've got Kate Royal, one of my heroes. She's running a ministry to street kids, street boys, who are coming out of very abusive situations. They're Muslim beggar boys sent to live on the street and beg for their Muslim teacher, and we bring those kids in, we feed them, and some of those boys, after growing up, maybe it's been 6-7 years now, they're actually getting educated and wanting to become pastors. And then we also have a big evangelistic kind of children's outreach that reaches about somewhere around 100,000 kids every year with the gospel. Lots of volunteers, really, really fun, puppets and skits and drama and all that. So a variety of different things. We've drilled wells and built schools and done refugee work, but most of it kind of goes around children.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
You say work with children, you're also the director of child advocacy.
Right.
So what all does that entail? What all work does that?
We're building that out, but we've realized, that that the Holy Spirit has led our teams individually without even knowing around the world. We're leaders in children's ministry. You take the Philippines, where they've got Camp Sensation, which is just amazing. You've got what Amo is doing up in Thailand, which is just so impactful. We never were specific and said, hey, this is how we do children's ministry, but we were just doing it naturally. Honduras has this amazing school for children. So we really want to shore that up. We want to be able to kind of cross-pollinate and help each other really develop children's ministry globally.
What would you say is one of the biggest hurdles that teams in West Africa and Central Africa face when they're ministering?
That's a broad question, but I think our team specifically, we've run into is Islam. It's just that kind of cultural, religious barrier, and we've really had to learn how to approach our Muslim friends with respect and with honor, but also know how to approach them with the gospel in a way that they can accept and understand. So that's been a big process, and I gotta say, Islam is really pushing south from North Africa. They're sending missionaries, so that's been a really big barrier that we've had to learn to overcome.
Now, going with different cultures and everything, was there some culture shock when you first got to Africa?
Absolutely. It was a big process. I think physically the environment's just so hot and arid. We're right under the Sahara Desert, so you're dealing with 100, 115, 120 degree heat, and the food's so different. I mean, we lost all kinds of weight, but that it took us a solid year to really feel comfortable, probably about 2 years until we really felt like we were at home there. But now, I mean, I feel more comfortable there than sometimes I do in the U.S.
So you have a heart for children, and you also have children of your own.
Yeah.
So did they live on the field with you and your wife?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Our son, who's 15 now, he was 2 years old when we first moved there. So his whole life has been Africa. And our second son, actually, we adopted in Burkina Faso. So, yeah, both of our kids have grown up their whole lives on the mission field.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What would you say is one of the coolest, most memorable experiences that you've had as a missionary on the field?
There's so many, but the one that I when I close my eyes, I still remember is being out in a village called Wolokonto, out it's the Turka people group, and we had just really started learning how to move in the Spirit, how to really be led by the Spirit and see miracles happen, and I just kind of that Kodak moment was 2,500 Turka people realizing that most of them had never heard the gospel in their own language, just seeing them surrender to Christ and then watching as about 100, 150 of them come and give their hearts to Christ. But what was amazing was that 2 weeks after we left, we got a phone call, and one of the local, renowned witch doctors had surrendered to Christ, and just seeing that transformation and watching a church just blossom in that village. That was really kind of the launch of kind of a new way for us to do ministry there. So
That's awesome.
Yeah, God is awesome.
That's awesome.
Yep.
So there's obviously cultural differences, and with that comes language differences and barriers. So have you come to learn some of the different languages that you encounter in West and Central Africa?
Yeah, our teams, we all learned French, which is kind of a regional trade language and the government languages. But we also learned some of the tribal. I learned Moray, which is a tribal language, and that our other missionaries have learned Fulfulde, which is a challenging language. So, yeah, you have to speak the language of the people you're trying to reach. So,
could you say something in one of those languages?
Yeah. Bon, tu sais, moi, j'ai appris à parler le français parce que c'est très important. Si tu vas travailler dans ces zones, il faut savoir parler le français.
You got to translate that now.
I just said I learned French because it's very important. If you're going to work in this environment, you're going to have to learn French.
Okay, now how about something in Moray?
Manca un mod somaye, ya todo usugo. So I just said I don't speak Moray very well. It's very challenging.
Did your kids pick up any French or Moray as well?
Yeah, Jacob speaks it pretty well, but what's funny is our little son Silas, he's not so little anymore, but he was having a difficult time learning English because we realized we were speaking 4 languages at home. We had French and English and Moray and Fulfulde all going on, so he was confused. So we actually just focused on English, so he actually has less French than his older brother. But yeah, they absolutely picked up languages.
That's awesome. So being there and then coming, to the States and stuff, and so if you encounter people that say, what is God doing in Burkina Faso or in West Africa or Central Africa? I know that's a very broad and big question, but if you could just hit on some things that you're seeing God doing and moving in your region. We're really focused on movements, on not just running ministries, but on really passing on the baton to those in the nation who are called to do that ministry, and then to see that multiplication. And what we're seeing, for example, with the evangelistic, we started out just running one team, having one team doing 100 outreaches a year. Well, now we've got 50 teams that are doing 800 outreaches a year, and it's just multiplying, and it's crossing national boundaries, going into Niger and going into Togo and Benin. And then with the other Kids of Hope, it started out with us just wanting to reach these street kids, but God took it further. Now some of those kids are wanting to become pastors, to go back to their own people, to preach the gospel. And some of them even have a heart to start a ministry to street kids themselves. So we're seeing that multiplication, and I think that's what we're seeing, not just in our region, but throughout the world. That's awesome. I know here at Go to Nations, we're also all about building partnership. And I know that you're on your recent trip to Burkina Faso, you met with some people from another organization about, is it for Christmas? You guys are going to be doing a thing. If you want to talk on that some.
Yeah, we started working with Operation Christmas Child, Samaritan's Purse, in 2010, and I soon became kind of a regional consultant with them, and have been able to work very extensively with them. And actually this week, this is very timely, we've got a team that we've trained locally, just Burkina Bay, who are going to take 2,000 Operation Christmas Child shoe boxes into a region of completely unreached people group. They don't have churches, they don't have believers, they don't have the Bible, they don't have pastors, they don't have missionaries. This is a people group that has no access to the gospel. And they're going to take 2,000 shoe boxes up there, preach the gospel in their language, with really the vision of planting churches along with some of the local, some other churches in the region. So we have a very strong partnership with Operation Christmas Child.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's exciting.
It is.
So if someone was to ask you, how can I pray for specifically the region that you work in? How can I pray for the missionaries? How can I pray for the people? What would you say?
Well, actually, I can give you very specific prayer needs. Kate Royal has had some health issues. We could definitely be praying for her.
And she's the director of Kids of Hope that
Hope.
minister to those street children.
Yes. And Pam Dagwam is also a missionary in Nigeria, and there's been a lot of unrest, and just for protection for him, for his family, and provision. And then for this outreach that's going to be happening in the next couple of weeks, that it wouldn't just be an outreach, but that God would show up in miraculous ways, that He'd heal the sick, raise the dead, and do what we can't do, and that churches would get planted during that trip.
That's awesome.
And the people group is called the Western Karaboro. So if we could just be praying for them.
Absolutely. Well, Joel, thank you so much. If you want more information on Joel and the team there in West and Central Africa, you can go to gotonations.org, and stay tuned because we'll be doing more interviews with more regional directors. Thanks, Joel.
Thank you.